Now in this short film I'm going to be looking at Matisse and how he used windows, and in fact the book I've got is called Henri Matisse, Rooms with a View, so it's specifically about his window paintings. And the first painting is Interior with Violin. It's rather nice because as with the Bonnard, it's got these traditional French shutters. They're not green in this picture, but in many of them they are green. And it's also rather nice because, as I said before, with the Dutch, they would use shutters in order to illuminate the room in a particular way. So the blue case here is reminiscent of the cloth in the Dutch painting, and the red table here, I think it's a table, is reminiscent of the woman's coat in the Dutch painting. And of course the black is acting in a similar way so that it makes these incredibly vibrant colours. Here's the other Dutch painting, and you can see, I'm going to have to stand up for this so I can lean over, but you can see here there are quite a few similarities. Even the blue sky outside shining in, and how it creates this fantastic darkness. We're going to have a look at a different Matisse. This is really interesting, this, because it's the same window as the Interior with Violin. This painting is called Young Woman in a Green Dress Leaning on the Balcony. I can't actually read this as a balcony, I have to say, but it's very much the same shape as the violin one, and the shutters are open at the same angle actually. But what a complete difference, because this one is not about filtering the light. This is about the interior, the richness of the interior world. The light from the window is not significant. In fact, I'd say the significance of the window is the shutters and the pattern of the shutters, and how it picks up on the pattern here and here. And it's not about going out of the window. As with Bonnard, you are not taken out of the window. I get the feeling with Matisse that he's very comfortable indoors. In fact, he's quite reluctant to go outside. And I've looked, there's very few paintings where there's something to lead you outside. It's completely different to Bonnard. You are happy inside, and what he does is he creates a wonderland, a theatre, where people are exotic, and there's a sort of sense of mystery of the Middle East, and Persian carpets, and women flouncing about, and sort of time. There's a feeling of that you've got plenty of time, where there's no sort of hive of activity as there is with Bonnard, where people are coming and going and making tea and writing letters. No, these ladies are women who are happy to just lounge around, really. They seem very content in their environment. And I think that's what comes over, is Matisse is very happy in his own company. He's very happy being inside. I'm going to look at another painting where it's unusual because the model is outside. And actually it's rather nice because we finally found a painting with the green shutters. But this is quite a departure from Matisse, I would say, in that the window, or the opening, takes up a huge amount of the canvas, and that he's trying to make the outside significant and inviting, and yet to me he's put this great big barrier in your way here. You don't want to go outside. The model isn't actually outside, she's on a balcony. I get the feeling that this woman is sitting on that balcony almost reluctantly. She's too hot, she's worried about getting sunburnt. You don't feel any link particularly with the outside and the inside, which suggests to me that he's happy to look outside and keep it at a distance, but he'd rather be inside. Okay, so I'm going to look at quite a few. Here's another one which has got the wonderful green shutters, and I would suggest that it's probably the same place as the woman with the parasol on the balcony. The French window at Nice, this is called. And do you see how the pattern is the significant thing, and the window is reduced to a tiny triangle? I think that's as much of the outside world as Matisse really wants to get involved with. It's really this wonderful, exotic world he's created for himself that he loves. He's happy in his imagination. The window is reduced to a tiny bit of the canvas. There's no need to go outside. All the lovely things about Nice come in and are reflected in the colours of the interior, in the happy-go-lucky people that are in the interior. I'll have a look at another painting. I think it's the same shutters and the same hotel he painted in Nice. That the model is actually out on the balcony. But to me, it's almost as if the balcony is an extension of the interior. It's almost as if she's brought into the room, and that's because, if you look, her hair is a huge contrast between this white line, which I'm not even sure what that is, whether it's a wave breaking or the balcony or what it is, but there's a lot of contrast between the darkness of her hair and the white. And of course, wherever you get high contrast, it pushes things forward. It gives the illusion of them being quite close. So he's in effect pushing her into the room. And this is actually the window here. Again, it's reduced to the happy knowledge that there is an outside world, but we'll keep it at a distance. And it's the world of the imagination that sustains Matisse. What's interesting to see is how he changes the motif of the window and it in his later work. And if we look at this later work, I don't know what this one is called, but it's really interesting because the window again has been reduced to a small portion of the canvas, and it's become entirely about the pattern now and not about any sort of light source. So Matisse is completely happy in his interior world. I think he's become so absorbed that the exterior is just a part of his imagination, really. So here's a lovely example where this is definitely a painting here, but is this a window? We don't really know. And it could, in many ways, it doesn't really matter. The little tiny pieces that we used to see in earlier work has become an imaginary outside world. So this Matisse is called the Conversation, and it's, I guess this is Matisse and this is his wife, and the window is used as a way of breaking up the space between them. And what's interesting is it's much more like the Italian school in that the window is used as a compositional device. So if we look at the Cicero reading, you'll see that the compositions are very similar with the window. Obviously, the young Cicero is bang in the middle of the window, but it's used not for the purposes of light, but for the purposes of dividing up the canvas. So we've looked at the Dutch school and how they used light. We've looked at the Italians and how they used the window as a compositional device. We've looked at Matisse and how he used the window in his studio, and it became part of his imagination. And we've looked at Bonnard and how he used the window as part of the domestic world and in many ways an escape from the domestic world. So the next one we're going to look at is Winifred Nicholson. And for me, Winifred Nicholson is very much about the poetic.